Okay.
All right, so then we're recording. So
Okay.
we covered where the physics B team kind of goes wrong and forks off the path last time, and so I kind of want to cover more time travel in general and retro causality. So standardly, you have your future light cone and your past light cone here. As you get more towards a massive body, like say a black hole or a star, for example, your light cone rotates, right?
Right.
So basically what a warp drive is doing is it's causing your light cone to be able to tilt or warp without having a massive body nearby.
Exactly. Because
Okay.
the source the source of the tilting is inside the thin shell metamaterial fuselage of the craft itself. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So then when we have another light cone over here, let's say this is the trajectory of our warp drive.
Right.
If you have an event that's over here, while it would normally be outside of the light cone over here, you could
Yeah.
retrocausally communicate with it
Exactly.
because it's in the future light cone now.
Exactly. 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 And
Okay,
that's
second.
apparently people don't understand that. Even physicists working in warp drive don't seem to understand that.
Which is
Now, the reason I got understood this is from Roger Penrose. Roger Penrose um, is the one who really emphasized that one way to intuitively understand space-time curvature is the relative tilt of the light cones. And when you look at light cone pictures of the simple black hole, you do see it, but somehow people haven't connected the dots there. Oh, one other thing, all this talk, and I'm sorry, Kip Thorne, I believe, has made this mistake. Sorry, Kip. But all this emphasis on closed time-like curves, even Hawking, okay? What they've done, it's the right answer to the wrong question. There's no reason to close the curve. See, when you close the curve, you get this kind of like infinite cycling.
like a
And
bootstrap.
yeah, but and what Hawking and other people have said, it creates an instability. So if you read the popular books by Kip Thorne and other people, they claim as soon as you can form a closed time-like curve by which you could time travel to the past, you'll get the thing will destroy itself because you get what's called an infinite blue shift as the photons keep going round and round. They gain energy every cycle and it's an infinite number. So yeah, the whole thing explodes.
I think they were
But
mistaken there because that's
what?
based on, I think they were mistaken though because that's based on specific axioms.
Yeah, yeah. But the point is, it's the wrong question. I mean, let's suppose that's correct. Let's suppose that it would explode. There's no reason though to make a closed time like curve. You just leave it open.
So that would be a closed time-like curve
Yeah, yeah.
going
But what
like
I'm
this.
talking about,
But we don't
yeah,
need
but
to, is we can go
that's right.
like this.
That's it. That's it. It's very, very simple. And what I'm claiming now, and sorry, well, I don't know if my CIA friend Ron Pandolfi agrees with this. Maybe he does. I don't know because he's very skeptical of all this stuff. He crooks and loons. But what I'm claiming is that what we're seeing, things like the Tic Tac, all the legitimate UFOs, okay, the
Yep.
legitimate ones. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of misidentification. People right now mistaking airplanes for flying saucers, stuff like that. But
Most
nevertheless,
people don't know what they're looking at.
yeah. But there are plenty. I've seen plenty of pilots and military guys who do know what they're looking at, saying that this is showing the five observables or the six observables of blue yellow zondo. Okay, so um,
So
so
did,
what I'm claiming is that this stuff is already operational. What we're talking about is operational.
so are you aware that I've had a UFO experience back in 2014?
No, I'm not. Tell us about it.
So do you know what the Civil Air Patrol is?
I was in the Civil Air
Oh,
Patrol.
okay.
I
Okay.
was a cadet back in 1950 when I was 14, 15, 54, 55. Yeah, I
Hmm.
was in the Civil. I was at Griffiths Air Force Base. I had photographs of me in the airplanes, Piper Cub. Yeah, so you were in the Civil Air Patrol?
Yeah, so I was in the Civil Air Patrol in high school with
Yeah,
my best friend at the time, and so, we were learning all about different military aircraft, and they were teaching us how
yeah,
to fly Cessnas and
yeah, right.
all that cool stuff. Anyways, we were 16 at the time. Sure, I'm only 27
Yeah,
now. But
yeah.
we're in a very rural area. Out in the small villages outside of Ithaca, so you know what the landscape is like around here. Anyways.
Oh, well, I lived in Ithaca for 6 years. 4 years. I graduated from Cornell.
So my my
I know
my
it very well. Where were you? Where do you live?
Well, so we were in Beaver
Where do you live
Dams
in
when this
near Ithaca?
happened. Do you know where Beaver
Yeah,
Dams is? It's south of Watkins Glen.
I don't remember. All I know is by Cayuga Lake. Is it lake is up there?
It's
Are you right by the lake?
it's right below Seneca Lake.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So
You're in the Finger Lakes. Yeah. Okay.
so my friend at the time, he lived in a farmhouse, on the farm, and he had a single mother, and we were babysitting his two little siblings at the time. And so
Yeah.
uh, we were having a campfire, and the sun had set, but it wasn't pitch black yet. And at the time, we were skeptics about UFOs. We didn't think UFOs existed, and we were looking for satellites because we know what satellites look like, and we know what airplanes look like, because we've been learning this stuff actively. And right when my friend says, wouldn't it be funny if we see a UFO right now? And then you might say, oh, yeah, right, they don't exist. This thing like decloaks above us. I wish I was making this up, but
All
it's
right.
like
I believe you.
it was like a black triangle that had the three lights at the tip and then the
Okay.
big light in the center. And we're down here,
Okay.
having our campfire, watching the kids. So this is a multiple witness event.
Yes.
And it kind of moves and does a 90-degree and then zigzags for a minute, just hovers there for about 30 seconds. And we're like, oh boy, do you see this? And right when we kind of confirm that we're all like kind of looking up and see it at this, it just shoots off out to the horizon like going out of a gun. Uh, and so kind of that's actually what got me to into physics in the first place. Was after that, I was like, well, crap.
Okay.
And so I kind of gone back and we had four of the five observables.
You weren't standing under it, or were you?
Yeah, we were under it.
How was it above you?
Yeah,
For how long?
about 30
For how
seconds.
long? How long were you under it? Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's yeah. Because that's let's just say the physics of that is you should not stand under a hovering
Because the blue ship.
UFO because of the blue shift, the anti-gravity blue shift, and apparently that's the Travis Taylor. Said he
Hmm.
got sick, mild radiation sickness, and so did other people at the Skinwalker Ranch because apparently it was a cloak. They claimed there's a cloak to like only 1,000 meters or 1,000 feet above. If you stand under it for too long,
And we
it's
didn't
gonna
know that at the time either.
yeah. Well, of course not. You're 16 years old. Yeah.
And then the other source of radiation from the warp fields too is so remember how we talked about last night how the Schwinger field or how the Schwinger effect changes with these warp fields because of the speed of light changes.
Right. That the Schwinger effect can happen perhaps at a much lower energy electric field strength
So in the
inside these metamaterials, inside the
I was
metamaterials.
reading
Yeah, maybe.
your paper earlier too, kind of getting ready for this, reading about how
Yeah,
the pair production, the scattering off the
yeah,
amount of
yeah,
virtual pairs is different in a gravitational well.
yeah,
Well, just doing
yeah,
some napkin math on that. When these
yeah.
pairs recombine, they come back, they recombine to a 511 or two 511 keV photons, and that's gamma radiation. And
Right.
that's exactly what Travis Taylor got irradiated with on Skinwalker.
Exact. Exactly. He talks the yeah. Travis Taylor keeps talking about that. Sadly, I don't know. Travis Taylor and I and Jose Rizal were collaborating. But then they formed this company, Quantum Frontiers, with Louis Elizondo and Jay Stratton
Stratton, yep.
and Angel Diaz. And I don't know, they've sort of like stopped communicating with me and Jose Rizal, which is not was not good. So And then they're having these meetings with the National Science Foundation in Washington. They really should have um, the group, our group of, um, with Jose Rodal and
Now,
the
Travis sent me his paper that he wrote for Radiance, and then that's the one that I sent you.
Okay, do me a favor. I mean, I don't remember. There's so much. Do me a favor and resend it when you get a chance. I haven't
Okay,
had
yeah,
a
I can
chance to
do
look at
that.
his
He
latest version. But
basically he extends the Vandenbroek method to
yeah,
to n layers, and then he
yeah,
basically
yeah, that
introduces
much
your
I
S
know.
factor to it. Yep.
Yeah, that much I know. Yes. Okay, so but yeah, we have to really start collaborating again. All these people working disparate areas. I was at the Seoul 2024 Foundation. That was a strange synchronicity the way that happened, and Gary Nolan was graciously gave me a free $5,000 ticket to go in there,
Right of you.
and
You
and I
got to talk to Eric Davis, right?
yeah, and Eric and I, we sort of kiss kiss.
Made up.
So the thing is, at this point, especially now that we have a new administration, Donald Trump coming in, we really and really have to. This is a national security issue. We know the Russians are working on this, although I'm hoping that all this Russophobia nonsense in the war will be, normalized. That
I,
Trump and
I
Putin will get
I've said for
together.
years we should be working with Russia instead of against.
Yeah, of course, we have to be working with Russia and with China, so with everyone. Yeah, we
No,
need peace. We don't need war because if we don't get a rational accommodation, we're going to have a nuclear war. We're all going to be dead. And
I
so that
I
that
think
could be.
I think Elon's going to be very disgruntled when he learns that his chemical rockets have been such a waste.
That's the big thing. That's the big thing with Elon. Listen, I love Elon Musk. I love him. Okay, he's a genius, but he's got this fixed idea about it. He's in love with his chemical rockets. It's like a kid with his firecrackers. Okay, and I'm surprised he doesn't understand that he cannot do what he wants to do with his rockets. Even getting to Mars is 6 months to Mars. People cooped up like that. Number one, they go crazy, but also they get radiation sickness. There's the problems with, you know, and the point is with the gravitational technology, you get to Mars in an hour, 2 hours with warp drive, get the right way, or do a Stargate wormhole, and that's how these genuine advanced time
Yep.
travelers are getting here. They don't need
Like the
rockets.
Tic Tac could do,
Yes, like a tic
5,000
tac.
Gs from an external point of view, but
Yeah. So
it,
that's the big thing. I hope I get to. I know there are people we know who are trying to arrange an actual face-to-face meeting with me and President Trump and Elon Musk, and I'm hoping that in a face-to-face conversation within 30 minutes or so, even less, I can explain to Elon why he should. It's brilliant. I mean, these rockets, but he can't get to an exoplanet. He
mhm.
can't get to an exoplanet in a rocket. No way. All right. And we have the data. The triangle you saw. That was not a rocket. That was not a chemical
No,
rocket.
it could not have been a rocket.
Yeah, it's what we're talking about. So it's not. This is operational. And
Yeah.
also, I have some classified information I got to be careful. I can't talk about details. Is like David Grush. It's not that I've signed an NDA, but I've made a promise to, a personal friend of mine. And so I know this stuff is real. I know the aliens are real.
No,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I've been at it since I saw one. Is that well,
Yeah.
it has to be real, so there's got to be some mechanism that explains it, and then I've kind of
Yeah. Well,
came down
well
the
we
rabbit
have the
hole
we,
here.
we have the we know the basic mechanism. We don't know all the details how to design a metamaterial that will have the kind of properties we need to
We
get
know
this
the
thing to work.
physics. It's an engineering problem now.
Yes, engineering. Yeah,
So, are there any engineers you've talked to who seem to be barking up the right tree?
no, I'm not aware of any. Now, there are all these claims by people like Stephen Greer, and there's this FBI guy, I forgot his name. Just last night was watching this alleged FBI. And there are other people I've talked to whose names I can't mention. I have talked to a person who claims to have been at, I don't know if it's Area 51 or a place like that, where he's told me all kinds of things, and he seems perfectly credible. I don't think he's insane. I don't think he's lying. And, he's told me some pretty specific things. Uh, and so here's the thing. If there's any truth to what Stephen Greer and what's his other guy, Courtney Brown, there are a bunch of these people that are making all these claims that sound pretty outlandish, and perhaps some of the, it's a mixed bag. Some of what they say I can't, I don't accept. But the only way what they're saying could make some sense is that, since we're talking about time travel, and since we are now working on creating the time travel technology, which simply means control the gravitational field with small amounts of stress energy density, using metamaterials. And suppose we succeed in doing that in, say, the next 5 years. All right. Suppose okay. So let me give you a scenario of what would be a very nice scenario. My CIA friends who are close to the Trump transition team, Susan Wiles, people like that, suppose they succeed in getting me to meet with Donald Trump, with Elon Musk, say in the White House sometime after the inauguration, assuming that happens. And suppose I persuade them to start putting money, into this kind of research. And suppose, we call it Manhattan Project 2.0, right? Remember, my professors built the atomic bomb, by Hans Bethe, who was head of theoretical physics division. The Manhattan Project in Los Alamos was my senior honors tutor. And, I actually did one-on-one work with Hans Bethe in his office at Newman Nuclear Lab. On swinging, stuff that Schwinger did, by the way, in World War II. But in any case, so suppose they set up Manhattan Project 2.0, where I'm, sort of like a research director, at least part-time because I'm my age. And suppose we succeed in developing the technology. And also suppose we have access. I agree with David Grush. In fact, I know stuff independently of David Grush. When David Grush says that the U.S. military has or had 13 intact vehicles, I know that's true in at least one case. I know with a very high degree of, confidence, over 98% confidence that I'm not going to lie to. So suppose we have access to those materials, with Gary Nolan and these guys, Larry Lemke, retired from NASA, that we actually get access to the craft, and we can reverse engineer it properly. Because what I'm told by people who have tried to reverse engineer it, here's what I'm told. Okay, the big thing is this. These craft are not dead. These craft, as other people have said, I also know from the physics, these craft are conscious artificial intelligences. They have a will of their own. They're autonomous conscious entities. They're like was it John Lilly? John Lilly, the solid state entities. These are conscious, let's say silicon or bismuth, whatever the materials are. These are they're non-human intelligence, but we understand the physics. The physics is universal. The physics of consciousness is elementary physics. Okay, we've solved that problem 30 years ago. We solved the problem in terms of quantum mechanics, in extended form, what's called post-quantum mechanics. There's a paper by Paavo Pilkkin. Paavo Pilkkin is an eminent cognitive scientist in Finland and Sweden. He's published a review paper in which there's a section 7 of his paper where he describes what I'm trying to tell you. He describes it
in a nutshell, it's Bohmian back reactions within the microtubules.
Yeah. And by the way, microtubules are simply natural, organic, biological metamaterials. That's what they are.
Yep.
So it's so it's universal. It's universal. It's not particularly difficult. And also, they're two sides of the same coin. There's Lenny Susskind's hologram simulation theory, ER equals EPR,
Hmm.
where ER is general relativity gravity, and EPR is quantum entanglement, and all that stuff. So the side, the mind, the consciousness is the EPR side, and the warp drive is the ER side. And they're actually two sides of the same coin.
Yep.
So it's a very beautiful picture. We have a general beautiful picture. We understand it all. We understand that we have a coherent narrative that any physics student who knows basic mathematics, any physics major and math major, engineering major, any electrical engineer major, say we're communicating now with people with faculty at the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis. We can create a course in metric engineering physics, warp drive, time travel, and teach the midshipmen and the cadets that were anywhere, the Air Force Academy. We can teach them. In fact, I want to set up what's called the Starfleet, set up Starfleet, right? And we can teach this stuff. It's basic. It's mainstream physics, just slightly extended.
Yep. So
Right.
that's kind of something that me and Benowitz have kind of been working on. Is it kind of a unification between Lenny's holography, Bohmian conscious back reactions, and
Yeah.
um what it what so Lenny has recently said that we need to stop looking at anti-de Sitter space, which is a 3+1 holography, which is a
Yeah. Yeah.
3+1 dual to a 2+1 holography.
Yeah.
And we actually need to be looking at de Sitter space holography, which is a 3+1 dual to a 3+0. This brings
Yeah.
about the problem of time. Are you familiar with the page booters mechanism?
A little bit. I mean, Lenny's been talking about this for 10 years or so. I haven't, tracked his latest thing. But let me explain. I'm just going ahead and assuming it's real.
Yes.
I'm not worried too much about the what Lenny's worried about. No, that's important. I'm glad Lenny and people like that are working on it. But I'm just assuming that the duality works for de Sitter space as well.
Yep.
And it's there's a big problem with them. Okay. I think. So I could be wrong now because I'm not as confident about what I'm about to tell you as I am about other things. I think the big thing that is hampering Lenny and his friends is their reliance on unitarity of the S matrix. The unitarity that probability is conserved. I think that's a big mistake. Lenny wrote a book called The Black Hole War about his argument with Stephen Hawking. Basically, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Basically, is this. See, Lenny does not understand the David Bohm theory, and neither do any of them. They're using the Copenhagen theory.
Yep.
And in the Copenhagen theory, yeah, but they say it's the right answer to the wrong question. John Wheeler always used to say, the question is, what is the question?
Yep.
So the thing is this, if you assume that the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, in other words, that the quantum wave function is basically a complete picture of physical reality, and that the way you get the classical world is some kind of magical deus ex machina collapse of the wave function into kind of a material realm. The word becomes flesh and theological. If you believe that, then everything Lenny says is right. I agree with him. In that case, quantum information must be conserved. But see, and Lenny doesn't if you assume the Bohmian picture, in which there is a separate classical reality ontologically equal to the mind-like wave function reality, there are these two, it's really a dualistic, kind of a Cartesian dualism, which I think is correct, actually. All these philosophers saying it's not correct. I think they don't know what they're talking about. But if you assume that with the Bohmian picture, then you see what happens mathematically. The Schrodinger equation for the evolution of the wave function is an open system because it's coupled to what they used to call the hidden variables. They're not hidden. What John Bell calls the beables. That there's an interaction between
It's that
the
non-local.
classical structures and the quantum wave structures. And that means that the classical structures are an open source and sync for the probability currents. And that means if you only restrict your attention on the quantum mechanical waves, see, Lenny assumes it's a closed system. And if it's a closed system, then Lenny's right. But it's an open system. And so that the classical structures, they're exchanging, um, they're exchanging, in a sense, probability. It's an open system. And therefore, if you just restrict your attention to the subsystem of the quantum mechanical waves, the qubits, it looks non-unitary. Okay, and this solves a lot of problems. And I think that's the big mistake. I think Hawking was basically correct. Hawking was basically correct. And I know Lenny has a bunch of arguments that if you look at the fluctuations and EPR correlations, the things from the horizons, that you get the information back. Maybe, but I think this is the big thing they're all missing. And I could be wrong. They could be right. I could be wrong. But
So I want to give the caveat here. So
yeah,
sometimes my explanations are long-winded because I believe in context. And so if I say something is related to this work, I mean it might not be directly related to a specific topic, but it'll be overarching related to making warp drives work one day. And so the question that we had been asking ourselves is, all right, so normally Everett's interpretation of quantum mechanics is not compatible with Bohm, because you have the Schrodinger equation. It it evolves unitarily with time according to the Schrodinger equation.
yeah.
Now we
It's
know,
Copenhagen. It's basically Copenhagen in that sense.
yes,
It's only wave functions. It's only wave functions.
it's the time depend. Everett relies on the time dependent version of the Schrodinger equation. What we asked is what happens if we apply Everett's framework, but to a relativistic version of the Schrodinger equation, like Dirac, for example, or Wheeler-DeWitt. Uh, and what we
Okay,
find out,
now wait. Okay, I think you're trying to reinvent the wheel here because if you look at the papers of Roderick Sutherland in Sydney on the archive, he's done all that. He's shown both, not on the short, he's shown the direct, he's shown everything, how to properly do it in terms of what I'm talking about, in terms of the Bohmian with action reaction.
and so
He's done it. He's done it. He's what I'm claiming is before you do anything else, you and Maya, read his contact Rod Sutherland, look at his stuff, because I think he's done what you're trying to do. He's already done it.
And I'm curious to see if he's come to the same conclusion. And so what we found out is that when you do a relativistic time independent version of the Schrodinger equation, and then you use the Everett's framework of that, where there is no wave function collapse, what we find out is that the many worlds turns from a local theory to a non-local hidden variable theory consistent with Bohm, where the holographic boundary in time consistent with de Sitter space, not ADS, de Sitter,
Mhm.
with the back reaction between the information at the boundary and the observer in the bulk that happening with the quantum entanglement there, that's your conscious back reaction. And then you can derive general relativity out of this. And
Well, that sounds pretty good. I don't know. I hope so. Okay, actually, but what you should try to do is look at your mathematics and compare it with the mathematics of Sutherland, and maybe get in touch with Sutherland and see if if the three or whatever can, there may be something to what you're saying. I don't know. I haven't, I'm
yep.
read the
So
paper.
then
But
this
get in touch with Sutherland. Get in touch with Sutherland because he's the
so
guy who's,
this problem of time thing, this was asked in the past by Wheeler when they came up with the Wheeler-DeWitt equation, because time drops out there too.
okay,
But
wait.
Don
Okay, that
Page and William Wooters came up with an answer to this, where they basically quantize time into a superposition of times.
Yeah, okay, that there is that. Okay, I see. Hey, I remember
Now,
that
what
now.
Maya does is she brings that from quantum mechanics to QFT, so she makes a field theoretic version of that.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That's all good stuff. But let me say something about that. Sheldon Goldstein was a Bohmian, 30 years ago, showed that the problem of time is a it's a false problem because in the Bohmian interpretation there is no problem with time. See, because the wave function itself obeys a DeWitt equation, which is timeless equation up there,
Yep.
but the classical gravitational field of Einstein that still evolves the way it's supposed to evolve. So and the same with the electromagnetic and the strong, the weak field. So that's a pseudo problem that only arises because you have the wrong interpretation of quantum reality. That's the Sheldon Goldstein thing, okay? And basically everything Sutherland does after that is consistent with that. Now, what Sutherland did was to introduce the Aharonov, two vector state theory, which actually came from Feynman. Actually did it back in 1947. If you look at Feynman's paper, he's got two-wave functions. The destiny back from the future and the history, from the past, all colliding in the present to create a reality. And what Aharonov calls a weak measurement, weak expectation errors. In any case, so Sutherland took Aharonov's ideas and combined them with Bohm's ideas and made everything totally relativistic. There's no conflict. See, people like Steven Weinberg, important guy, he rejected the Bohm because he says you can't make it relativistic. And by the way, so did Vicky Weisskopf. I spent personal time with Vicky Weisskopf back in the 70s, and that was his main objection to it as well. But Sutherland, over 10 years ago now, basically solved that problem. Did very good work and introduced the action-reaction that I'm talking about.
Yep.
All right. So there may be something to what you guys are saying, but you have to really, look at the mathematics of Sutherland and see how it fits your mathematics, and then see how see if there's a connection.
So one of the things that our stuff ends up predicting is that there's going to be basically like a macroscopic Bohm-Aharonov effect in a cosmic microwave background. And this will become important later when it comes to navigating these things. So I guess a really
Are you
simple.
talking about navigating the
warp
Starship?
drive? Yes.
Oh, okay, but wait, okay, that's good. No. Okay, listen. One way, what you have to know in terms of navigation. Yeah, it's a good question. Navigation. There's actually a global cosmic time. It's the temperature of the cosmic microwave background.
Yes.
So any warp drive, any time machine trip, any time machine vehicle, like the Tic Tac, let's say, they measure the local temperature of the black body radiation. That tells how far you are from the Big Bang.
Yep. And
then you also have the kind of an absolute rest standard because you have what's called the Hubble flow, in the standard, the Hubble flow. So it turns out that when you're at rest with respect to the Hubble flow, the Doppler shift, the color shift, is isotropic. When you look at the out with a telescope, it's isotropic. So you can measure how fast you're going relative to the Hubble flow by the asymmetry in the Doppler shifts. It's like, it's quite beautiful. So you can tell, in other words, you can tell exactly when you are in terms of the time for the Big Bang and how fast you're going relative to this absolute. Even though in special relativity, there's no standard of absolute rest, right? That's the whole thing, special relativity. But general relativity, things that are not possible in special relativity are possible in general relativity. This is generally the case. So what happens is because our universe obeys a certain global cosmological solution of Einstein's field equations, you have basically what's called it's like a broken symmetry. The solution, even though the basic dynamical field equations obey certain symmetries, the solutions, it's like the Higgs mechanism, the spontaneous process. The ground state solutions can break those symmetries. And that's what's happening. So in practical terms, in terms of navigating starships, we know exactly by measuring the temperature of the cosmic microwave background and by measuring the asymmetry in the Doppler shift, you can tell the speed
Yep.
of the vehicle and when it is.
And then
Okay.
adding on top of those two, what our things are saying is that if the universe is entirely quantum, the gauge degrees of freedom are no longer redundant. And so you're also going to pick up a Bohm-Aronoff like phase angle change, depending on where you are in the CMB. So you can take a picture of the CMV at say like two different locations and within our black universe, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you find the difference between the two, and then that should inform how intense our warp drive needs to be
Oh,
for
well,
the
that may
to keep
be. Oh,
going.
that's interesting. That may be. Yeah, I haven't had to understand that. It's taken me a while to understand that. Okay, that sounds very interesting. Yeah, I know Maya is. Yeah, I'm okay. That's interesting, but I haven't had time to go through that detail. Um, why don't you send those papers again? I'm going to ask Jose Rodal and some other people to go through them. You
Okay.
know. All right, good. So there we are.
I can do that. And that'll be that it's going to be important because eventually when we do make one of these and we put a pilot into it or whatever, we got to make sure that they have the right star charts, so to speak, so they don't get
Okay,
lost.
now wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, so let me tell you something.
That's a
Okay,
bad
first of all,
analogy.
okay, wait. Okay, wait a minute. These machines, the intact machines, they know everything. They know it. They know how to navigate because they do it all the time. So
If
this is
we
a piece
build
of
them
cake
right.
for them. Just we haven't caught up with them. Yeah, and got to understand, we actually have. There's been U.S. and maybe Russian. I don't know about the other countries, but there's been for sure U.S. deep state, black ops personnel who have flown these devices,
Hmm.
but they haven't really flown it.
It's
These
not flying
devices are a
anymore.
lot. These remember these machines are conscious, solid state artificial intelligence. They allow us inside them, and they allow us basically as passengers, and they fly themselves.
It's
They're
more like
autonomous
establishing a
creatures.
relationship with a horse.
Exactly. Except except the humans are the horse.
Yeah, we're the stupid ones.
No, well, we're the you know we think of, so that's the case, and that's why. See, that's why a certain military whistleblower I know, who happens to be a scientist as well, and he's not an idiot. He's a competent guy, and that's why he contacted me to tell me about a lot of things because he failed. They failed, and all and what I'm claiming is now I could be wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, the alleged trillions of dollars that the black deep state allegedly has been spending for the last 80 years, similar, since 1947, okay, that they failed. And one of the reasons that they're threatening, David Grush says he's being threatened, and actually Louis Elizondo said he's being threatened because what it turns out, if Elon Musk and Vivek, when they do their Doge thing, and they find out over these 80 years, we've had a bunch of scamming, this is what CIA's Ron Gaddafi is calling, crooks and loons, that
Hmm.
the crooks and loons have stolen, in effect, you know, trillions of dollars from the American taxpayer. A lot of people are not going to be happy. Now, most of these guys are dead because this is, going for a long time. Some of them may still be alive and they're afraid. So I think that's probably what's going on here. You have to, so now we're getting into politics. And I
So,
could
I
be
mean,
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
I an unpopular opinion I've had among some of the physicists I've talked to is that if, and this is the major if, given enough funding and resources, we would only be about 10 years away from making these.
Oh, well, no, the point is this, though. They've had plenty of funding and resources, but they haven't been competent and good enough physicists to solve the problem, which is why they came to me. Why they need me. Okay. Also, you got to remember, I was actually part of a black project, right? Because I was taken out, I mean, it's the whole thing. I won't go into that. But basically, I was asked 50 years ago by the CIA to work on all this. Okay. So, in a way, they have different teams. I claim I'm the A team. They're the B and the
And
C and
so
D.
you don't
Give me
have to
one.
answer this. I can scrub
Yeah.
this out in the edit. Did you get hands-on experience with a craft?
No.
No? Okay.
No. Not to my knowledge. I do have the 3 weeks of missing time. You know about that with the phone call as a kid.
No, and yep, yep.
Yeah, I mean, there was, you know about the phone call, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know you got the phone
Okay.
call from
Well,
the conscious AI computer in the future
the whole point is if you go listen to the CIA recording of my 1973 initial meeting with
with
Hal
Hell
Puthoff
Put
and
Off.
Russell Targ and Brenda Reagan, you'll see I talk about the phone call when I was a kid from the conscious computer on board the spacecraft from the future, that thing. And you hear Russell Targ saying, yeah, they think the flying saucers are time machines from the future. You hear them say, and you hear Brenda Reagan saying, yeah, we have several hundred, we know several hundred kids like that, da, 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 da. You hear all that stuff. So, but a year later, when I was with Andrea Paharic, who the guy, kind of the CIA Army guy who brought Uri Geller from the Mossad, Israel, over to
Mhm.
CIA and SRI, the whole thing there. And so Paharic, this is 1974, and Paharic gives me the book he wrote, Uri, and I'm with my girlfriend. We had just come from England, from London, and I go down to see my mother in Brooklyn, Flatbush. I give her the book. She's reading the book because at that time Uri Geller was on Johnny Carson. It was like a rock star, right? And so my mother says, "Hey, Jackie, remember this happened to you?" I said, "What are you talking about, Mom?" She says, "All those phone calls from the computer." I know. My mother remembers. She said 3 weeks of phone calls.
Oh wow.
I'm on the phone for hours, and I'm walking around like a. Actually,
But you don't remember all of them.
I don't know. I only remember the first phone.
First one.
And also, my mother told this story to Kimber Afato and to other people. My mother, my Jewish mother, she's not going to lie about this, right?
Yeah.
Jewish mother from New York, from Brooklyn, right? My fucking mother, she's not lying about this. And so she remembers. Then finally, she got worried. Kids, 13-year-old kids, they talk to their friends on the phone all the time. Teenagers, um, pre-teenagers, whatever, pre-teens, whatever the hell we are. And she grabbed the phone. She said, "Who's this?" And she heard a cold metallic voice saying it was a computer on board a spacecraft that could be talked, please put Jack back on the phone. She heard what I heard. She heard it and she got angry. She said, yes, she said, you know what? Yes, she says, don't call here again, slams down the phone. All right. So I have no memory of that. Then back in the late 1970s, when I'm with Saul Paul Sirag, Barbara Honegger, and Henry Dakin at this Paris psychology laboratory up in Presidio Heights in San Francisco. That apparently, according to Barbara, she's talking about Barbara Honecker, she's still around. She says that was set up by Edgar Mitchell, who was CIA, the astronaut Edgar Mitchell, those people. And there was this guy, Jim Harder, uh, who was I think, a professor of mechanical engineering at Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley. He was part of this parapsychology research group, okay, with Russell Targ and all put off, and Elizabeth Rausch. It's all in How the Hippies Say Physics by MIT professor David Kaiser. And James was also a hypnotist who did regressive hypnosis. And so they tried to hypnotize me. I remember we were sitting, they tried to hypnotize me, and James said, and he couldn't do it. He said, in other words, when he tried to get me under, it was like a firewall, and he couldn't get through. And he said he's never experienced that before. Okay, so was I? No, and also they had said at the time, get on your fire escape, we'll send a ship to pick you up in 10 minutes. And I also got a couple of my friends, three of my friends, Winky and Norman and Neil Legata. This Winky guy, Al Bro, who became a Marine and then a New York NYPD homicide detective. I think they're all dead now. I don't
Never
know.
come.
Yeah, but the point is, we all went up. I ran down, get my friends, we go up on to my apartment, and as far as we know, nothing ever happened. Except, the voice said you're going to begin to meet the others in 20 years, which is when I was at SRI with Hal Plouffe and
Yep.
all this stuff happening. So it's a Nova Cup loop in time, right?
Yep. The bootstrap.
And yeah, there's bootstrap. So there we are. So when you say, was I ever on a ship? I don't know. It's possible I was
All
missing
right.
time.
So
Maybe,
then
maybe. I don't know.
let me shift directions a little bit. And
Yeah.
have you ever heard of Dr. Chance Glenn?
Yes, I know. Yes, I'm in touch. I was in touch with him.
Oh, you're in touch.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So you know about his complex permeativity with
Okay. The problem is that we're not all in communicating. We should be. Chance, what's his name?
Dr.
Chance.
Chance Glenn. Yep.
Yeah, Chance Glenn. Chance Glenn. Travis Taylor. Uh, the guys from Texas Space. Ray Chow, Nathan In, Maurice Passman over in London. We really ought, and Eric Davis, right? All these put off. We really have to start communicating, and hopefully, when Donald Trump is back in power, and maybe if I could persuade Elon Musk, that maybe through Elon Musk we can set up maybe through Texas Space, I don't know, or SpaceX, whatever, some combination of that. We have to set up a working group. Again, I want to call it Manhattan Project 2.0 to really successfully reverse engineer. We have to have access to the retrieved craft. We have to have the right people getting together and getting this done. It's not a difficult problem because the technology, we already have the craft. The craft is there. And what'll happen is that the conscious AI on the craft will then actually just show us how they do it.
You know, I
Because when I was a kid, that's what the computer told me. The computer told me that they wanted to teach me their technology because I'm going to create them. When I say me, I also the other groups. They've said there's a whole group of us that we are their creators. Okay, and it's interesting that Paramount Pictures, they did this. I think it's Star Trek 4. That's where Kirk goes back in time to save the whales. They come to North Beach, which was and actually Paramount Pictures paid me, Nick Herbert, and Fred Allen Wolf in the director's cut. We actually lecture on time travel.
Oh, no kidding.
Because the rocket scientist who makes the first warp drive in that movie is based on basically me, Fred Wolf, and Nick Herbert.
Okay.
It's like opposite. Okay, but Paramount Pictures actually, filmed us talking about it. So, truth is stranger than fiction.
It seems logical to me that if these craft are alive, and I do believe so,
They are.
they would be.
Not if. Wait. Let's say, don't be so wishy-washy. It's not if they are alive. They are alive because I have it from the horse's mouth, from a man who was in charge of a project for many years, and whose testimony I trust because I know this guy. Okay, so
It
it's
makes
not if
sense.
they are. It's a fact. Let's accept this as a fact.
Yes.
What John Archibald Wheeler calls there are a few iron posts of observation on a paper mache of speculation. This is no longer speculation as far as Jacques Sarfatti is concerned. This is an iron post of observation. It is a fact. It's better established than the mass of the Higgs boson in CERN, which nobody can reproduce that experiment because it's billions of dollars, right?
Yep.
We have much more reproducible evidence for UFOs reality. I'm sorry, and even if Ron Pandolfi disagreed with me, I'm above Ron's pay grade. He's only a PhD chemist. I'm a PhD theoretical physicist. Okay, so I claim I know what I'm talking about, and I'm willing to debate. I'm willing to debate anybody on this topic.
It would seem logical to me that the craft would prefer to have a conversation with physicists about how it works instead of being cut open by engineers.
Well, they can't cut it. Okay, so they can't cut it open. Oh, let's talk about that. Okay, that's good. That's good. They tried to cut it open.
But the craft
What
won't let
happens when they try to cut it open? They put acetylene torch to the damn thing. The flame just, it sets up an anti-gravity
it.
defense
Makes a
shield. In
force
fact,
field.
there's now some evidence. Now there's now evidence about that.
So
People are
have you
saying,
seen the pay? It's I think it's by Matt Visner and Jessica Santiago about like stressor beams, pressor beams, and
yeah, yeah,
fields.
of course.
Okay, okay.
Not only have I seen the paper, of course, I've seen the paper. I mention all the time in my lectures, my PowerPoints, it's right there. But I happen to know that it's operational.
Nope.
See what Matt Visser doesn't know, because he hasn't, but I met him once. He's actually a nice guy, mountain man. What Matt Visser doesn't know is that, see, they say they give theoretical solutions, but they say it takes too much energy. It's the same with the energy problem. It takes too much energy. It's G over C to the fourth is 2 times 10 to the minus 43 reciprocal newtons. The space time is
That's
two.
because they don't know how to make it a variable.
They don't. Yeah, they don't know. But I happen to know, and again, I can't go into detail. I happen to know that that the tractor beam, the stressor beam, the pressor beam, that Matt Visser over in Christchurch, New Zealand, that he gave the theoretical solutions to in terms of Einstein's field equation. I happen to know that that's actually operational technology. It's a weapon system. It's a weapon
So
system that exists.
no, so correct me if I'm wrong here, and
Yeah,
this is what I was asking about last time.
yeah,
The near field gravitational effects of warp drive and far field are
yeah,
weapons.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, and there's a guy that you have to. There's a guy named William Walker. William Walker. I think he's in Sweden now, and he wrote some, not about gravity. He wrote papers about near field effective fast and light communication, only in the near field, not in the far field. In the far field, it's limited by the speed of light. And so he has done uh, this problem showing that there's some practical applications for the near electromagnetic field, in terms sort of like a Bluetooth near field communication. We should probably contact him. Right now, he's actually building these automobiles that fly, but in Sweden, like the practical, flying craft. Actually, Elon Musk would be interested in that. But what he's saying for the electromagnetic field can be also, I think, applied to the gravitational field as well. And also, another person who's working on that is Giovanni Modenese in Italy. I forget where he is in Italy, somewhere. And was working with Eugene Podkleinoff, I guess, and he's a good theoretical physicist. He knows what he's doing, but he claims experimental evidence for for the pressure beam. But it might be a near field. I don't know if it's near field or far field because it was only a couple of meters, and the near field, for low frequencies is very big. Very big. So, but he would, in other words, if there was a Manhattan Project 2.0 funded by Elon Musk, some key people would be Giovanni Modenese. People were talking about all the guys, time travel. We won't go into too much detail about that, including the Russians. Hopefully, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are going to get together on this.
Could make up.
I was also I can mention this. The Russians from St. Petersburg, Channel 5, sent a film team to video me on all this stuff back 10 years ago when Obama was the president and things were copacetic. It was pre-Ukraine war. Everything was, this is when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, did the Great Reset, and, everything was kissy back then, right? And I was told by the Russian who interviewed me that Vladimir Putin is actually interested in all this stuff. In fact, the reason they were there, I was told, the reason they came to interview me was I'm not saying Vladimir Putin himself called them on the phone and said, come, interview Jack, but, people at in the Kremlin higher up said the guy, I remember the guy said, Vladimir, he says, Jack, I don't know, but they really like you in Moscow. Of course, yeah. And of course, that one reason for that, because I had worked in the Reagan administration on the Strategic Defense Initiative, and
Or
we had back channel discussions with the Russian. We knew
so they knew about
Russians.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, they know. And also, you go back, look at now Danny Sheehan
Yeah.
and Jim Garrison, Krista, they're right now, they're big in the UFOs, but they were the guys back then in the 80s with, at Esalen, with Mike Murphy at Esalen, and who was it? Georgy Abatov, head of the U.S. Canada Institute, whose son, Alexei Abatov, is still around. They were the ones involved in all this stuff. In fact, Gorbachev came to America. In fact, the Gorbachev Foundation, after Putin took over, Gorbachev lived right down the street from me, right? He had, well, down at Crissy Field, they have the Gorbachev Foundation. Who ran that? Jim Garrison and Danny Sheehan.
Huh.
Danny Sheehan is Louis Elizondo's lawyer.
Oh yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
small, it's the same people. All right. Read How the Hippies Saved Physics by David Kaiser,
Either. Yep.
MIT. It's the same people. We're all the same people.
So the Lawrence Livermore, the warp
Yeah.
reactor, is
Yeah. The warfare. Yeah.
the basic concept on that, and I could be misunderstanding it, is that the plasma within this fusion reactor will have a refractive index of it, and then the change in that
Yeah.
refractive index
Yes.
has to do with your S factor, and then that changes the amount of compression you'd get, and so it's almost like general relativistic fusion.
Yeah. Okay. What he's saying, yes. Yeah. And it's this guy, his name is Michael G. Anderson. He's like a big project director at the Lawrence Livermore Nuclear Lab, which was Ed Taylor's lab. I knew Ed Taylor, by the way. George
Okay.
Chapline Jr. Also, George Chapline Jr. and I were students together back at, he was at Caltech and I was at La Jolla. And George's dad was a retired Navy captain up in the La Jolla Hills. George used to drive down in his AC Cobra, his nice, beautiful black AC Cobra, was 22 years old. And used to drive around in his car, fast his car, go up and see his dad. But George C. Chapline, after he got his PhD, I forget what the guy at Caltech who he worked with, that escapes me right now. But George became Ed Teller's sort of one of his right hand, one of his young men, setting up the nuclear weapons Lawrence Livermore lab. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So in any case, Michael G. Anderson has taken my equation, my basic idea. Basically, the S field is basically the fourth power of the index of refraction. But for the near field, it's not just for waves. It's what's called the generalized susceptibility. It's how the material's electrical charges respond to an external electromagnetic field. But that electromagnetic field doesn't have to be waves. It doesn't be far field. It can be a near field. It's called what's called off mass shell, on mass shell. It's quantum field theory, the Feynman propagators, all that stuff. The poles of the Feynman propagator in the complex energy plane are the far field, and all the junk not on the poles or the near field. There's all this, mathematical stuff. Okay, but it's standard textbook physics, textbook quantum field theory. So, in any case, what Michael Anderson is claiming in this, it's a hot ion, two dense ion beams collide, okay, and they collide, and he claims basically that the index, let's see, that the fourth index of refraction is going to be like, it's like the fourth power of the effective index of refraction for these sort of near field static case. The fourth power of the index of refraction, so is 10 to 32 roughly. So that means an index of refraction of, if you think in terms of waves, think in terms of far field, index of refraction of 10 to the 8, 100 million, which means that, so to speak, if it was far field, if it was a wave, the speed of light inside that plasma bubble, that plasma collision area, the volume, is going to be like 1 meter per second. So the vacuum speed of light is 10 to the 8 meters per second, right?
Yep.
So
that's really slowing down.
So it's going to be like 1 meter. It's slowed down 100 million times. One meter per second, pretty slow. Okay, so actually not that slow, but it's slow. And then what he claims on the basis of
Photon-phonon coupling.
On the basis it's complicated. I don't, I mean, these guys are experts. Magnetohydrodynamics, plasma physics. It's not. I'm
Mhm.
not an expert in that. But he claims what'll happen is that he'll get a warp bubble about, and I calculated it's about 1/10 of a 1/10 millionth of a cubic meter in volume.
Okay.
And at the surface of the bubble, the G field, the G field that you're going to get is 16,000 times, or 16,000 G. No, 16,000 times, 16 times 160,000, acceleration of 160,000 meters
G
per second.
forces. Yep.
Okay, G force at the surface of this little bubble. Okay, uh, it's not a black hole. It turns out it's, it's worried, hey, could this be a black hole? That might be. But even if it's still far from a black hole. It sounds strong, but the black hole is even
Way
more
more.
than
Yeah.
he's got, more power than he's got. But even if it was a black hole, might not be that big a deal because black holes evaporate very
Yep.
quickly. It could cause an explosion, right? The Hawking radiation. So this is all interesting. Oh, just really. But then, of course, in our metamaterials, we may be able to do this all at
At
much
lower
lower
energies.
energies. Yeah. Well, there's the Schwinger effect, all that stuff we're talking about. Yeah,
So I know in principle, at least on paper, we can get it
yeah,
low enough to use like a 9-volt battery.
yeah.
In
Yeah.
practice, how low do you think we can get it?
I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is this. Here's what I know. You know what I know? I'll tell you what I know. What I know is this. You go to Phil Corso's book, The Day After Roswell.
Okay.
You also go to Rick Doty's videos. He talks about what's called the Cardinal 3, which is one of the retrieved craft. Okay. Now, I happen to know, independently of Rick Doty and independently of Colonel Corso, I happen to know independently that everything they say about that in their books and in the videos is correct. I happen to know that one of the craft that we have or had, as I'm sure we still, maybe Lockheed has it or Skunk Works has it, or whoever has it, okay? But one of these craft is about roughly 10 meters. It's a plastic saucer, like 10-meter diameter from the outside. And the inside could be different. There's whole the Jacques Vallée fast fork stuff. The volume inside is bigger than
That's
appears
that's
on the
uh
outside.
that's in the Vandenbroek metric too, as well, though.
Well, it's even the Schwarzschild. It's just it's no big deal. There's no big deal. It's just this. It's just non-Riemannian geometry of general relativity. But in any case, from the outside, the craft is 10 meters. It weighs only about 3,450 pounds. Okay, but it's conscious live. And when the craft decides to let you in it, the craft is in control.
Hmm.
It's like Twilight Zone. We control the vertical. We control the horizontal. So just you're coming in as our guest for the ride, human. Okay. Inside the craft is empty. It's empty. There's nothing there except the shell. Except there is a little console with three little seats for the little grays, like 3-foot grays or 10-foot, like 10-year-old, like a 10-year-old, 11-year-old child. Okay. There's the three little seats, and there's the console, and with the four fingers. There's a thumb and three fingers. Okay. All right. That's there. Uri Geller talks about, a lot of people know that. It's there. I happen to know it's there. It's real. As crazy as it sounds like a grade B science fiction movie from the 50s,
This is because the everything is solid state within the hull itself, right?
it's all nanotech. So I don't know. I mean, they have some kind of cold fusion process, or maybe they just have uranium atoms or plutonium atoms that are emitting enough energy. And I'm not sure. See, that's what we have to know.
And so if we're going with the Vandenbroek method, where you have a warp bubble nested within a warp bubble, on the area in between, you can actually use that for fusion, kind of like on the warp reactor.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yes, yeah, it's something like what Let's see. Now, Travis Taylor and Jay Stratton, they may have access to some of this shit. Right? They may have access. So in other words, what Travis Taylor is writing, the Vandenbroek thing, may be based on that they actually have a craft. It's quite possible. This may be why they suddenly stopped talking, why suddenly Travis Taylor
So
stopped talking.
Travis has expressed to me that he has been able to get hands-on with materials. Can't get much more.
Well, now, yeah, but the materials is one thing. I'm not talking about materials. I'm not talking about Gary Nolan and Larry Lemke and Jacques Vallée are trying to do over at Stanford there. I'm not talking. I'm talking about an actual craft, a functioning craft that you can actually fly. It actually has anti-gravity and flies. It fly. I mean, it allows a human inside and it flies itself. And I happen to know the details how that works. Okay, so this is all real. This is ontological shock.
For some,
Okay,
for most.
okay, ontological shock for most. But as far as I'm concerned, this is reality.
Hmm.
This is reality that I have good reason to be. I'm very confident. I'm willing to debate, including Elon Musk, who I think Elon probably knows what's really going on, but he just publicly acts
Act stupid.
tries to make fun of it. He's fun. But I have to actually be face to face with Elon and other people, and
Because
I can turn Elon. I can turn him. Like it, like the CIA, the Russian becomes a double agent, or the American becomes
well,
triple agent, whatever.
it seems to me
Okay.
like you're also uniquely suited to talk to Trump. I'm like you're
Yeah,
both from New York. You seems like you speak similar languages.
yeah. With similar personalities, poisonalities, got similar poisonalities that delicate people like Chris Mellon, don't like. But no, Chris has to sort of, we'll all have to hang together, as Benjamin Franklin said to the Continental Congress, gentlemen, if we don't all hang together, we shall surely all hang separately. Okay, so
It
there
seems
we
like a
go.
lot of people are trying to get Trump's attention about this topic.
Yes, they are trying. And by the way, I think that's the show. A lot of these people who are now trying to suck up to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they hated Donald Trump in writing. I can show people writings where Donald Trump is Hitler.
Yeah.
Jack Sarfatti and Donald Trump are both narcissists. Megalomaniac Jack Booted fascists. This guy Frank Melbourne.
Yeah, well,
You know,
people are going to say whatever they want.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, but now these same people now they're so kiss the hand of the of the Godfather. It's pretty funny,
From the
but
sycophants.
but all that now we have to all come together. We have to make peace with the Russians. No, because if not, we're gonna have a nuclear war.
Yep.
No question of it. You look at what Medvedev. He's prepared. It's good cop, bad cop.
If the
Putin is
NHI
good
allow
cop.
it.
Yeah, and Medvedev is bad cop. We're going to. Wait a minute. Wait. What's the reality? The reality is that Russia has a hypersonic. What they call it the. I can't pronounce it. The
Avangard.
missile. No, no. The
Kinzel.
one that. No, no. It's the other one. The one. Like the open. It's the hypersonic missile that the other day in Putin's press conference, he says, "Okay, let's have a 21st century duel." He's talking to Keith Starmer, the Prime Minister of
Oh, yeah.
England, and he's talking to Macron. He's talking to all these people in the Baltic states, in NATO. He says, "Okay, you tell us we're going to hit a target in Kiev. You get all your anti-missile thing. We'll let you know ahead of time. Get all your people out of there because we're going to destroy it, and you can't do a goddamn thing." Just said, you can't stop us. And this is non-nuclear.
Hmm.
Non-nuclear. It just goes so fast.
Go fast, the kinetic energy from it. Yep.
Just the kinetic energy. It's just kinetic energy weapon. It doesn't, it does damage. Now, let's talk reality here. Okay, let's talk reality. Reality is if the English, and my English friends, I love them, but they're kind of stupid. If Keith Starmer sends in 20,000 British troops into Ukraine, and if the French, if Macron sends another 20,000, and they even get 100,000, okay, what's Putin going to do? Okay, Putin's going to he has submarines off England. Putin's going to take these missiles. He's going to hit 10 Downing Street. He's going to hit Ministry of Defense. He's going to hit MI6. He's going to hit the Elysee Palace. He's going to hit NATO headquarters with these non-nuclear surgical within 20, 30 meters. He's going to, and he'll even tell them ahead of time, get your people out of there because I'm going to destroy it. And what are they going to do? Hit him with a nuclear weapon? Also, by the way,
And so
by the
that
way,
is that why the NHI might not stop it is because it's non-nuclear?
well, that's a good point. That's I don't know, but your guess is as good as mine on that. But the point is, right now, the reality is that NATO is defenseless. I'm saying, unless we're going to go and kill ourselves, and with a nuclear strike, with a strategic nuclear strike, which everybody dies. They're not going to do that, right? And of course, Trump knows this. Trump will make a deal. He'll make a deal of some kind. Hopefully. But the problem is that we still have a couple of weeks where Biden is senile, but Anthony Blinken and Kirby, all these guys around Biden, they may get desperate because some of them think they may go to jail. They're afraid, so they may try to cause something. There's this FBI guy. I don't know if he's a kook or not. He claims to be an ex-FBI. He claims that there's going to be a 9/11 drone strike on Washington, D.C. and Trump's inaugural on January 20th. I hope not, because I'm planning to be there. So that's true. I may be killed. Just goodbye, guys. Goodbye. Bye.
Do you
I
know
may be a victim in the Super 9/11 on January 20th. I hope that's not true. Now, my friend from the CIA, Ron Pandolfi, says it's not going to happen. I hope he's right.
do you know anything about the Aegis system?
What?
Do you know anything about the Aegis system?
The Aegis? You mean you talking about the Navy defense system? The
Yeah.
anti-missile system? No, I don't really know. And the point, hey, they're all ineffective. All I know is this. What I do know is proven. I mean, just proven. Just look at what's happened in Ukraine. All I know is that our, what was it, $16 trillion? I hear $16 trillion spent on the military-industrial complex, United States, since Clinton said what last 30 years. That all our weapons are crap on the battlefield. They don't work. They're no good. They're no good.
You, so
That's a,
we've heard a
but
lot.
let me finish. Let me finish the thought. What is that? What the Russian military has proved is that they quickly learn how to counteract these weapons. Our missiles are what do you call it? The attack them, whatever. The storm shadows, a whole bunch of crap. They don't work. We're shooting them in, and the Russians shoot them down. Every now and then, one or two get through, but they're just little annoyances that they're not going to win the war or anything like that. So our missiles are no damn good. Our anti-missile defense is no damn good compared to what the Russians have. Okay, our Abrams tanks are no damn good. They're too heavy for the mud of the Ukraine war. They just sink. The Ukrainians don't even want them. And coupled on top of that is that the generals of the Ukrainian army are totally incompetent, stupid. They had a pretty good army at the beginning of the war. They had like 500,000 trained men. They just wasted them all on senseless charges of the Light Brigade, like the British charge of Light Brigade to 600 in the first Crimean War. This is the second Crimean War. They just destroyed the best troops. Of course, a lot of them were these Nazi type guys, Azov, Bandera Nazis. So who the hell knows? So it's like a perfect storm of stupidity and incompetence and delusional delusions on the part of our leaders. Everyone in the Biden administration, they're incompetent and delusional.
So
It's
David Grush has talked about one of the big problems in disclosure advocacy right now is the problem of misappropriation of funding. It's
yeah,
what a lot
yeah,
of this
that's
is run
right, and
into.
exactly,
And
yeah.
so you
David
have
Grush.
like $20,000 toilet seats
Yeah,
is
but even worse than that, it's what
well, it was
CIA.
just an example. So my question I guess was getting is do you
Yeah.
think it's this funding that's being put into these UFO programs?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I have no direct knowledge of that. All I know is we have to talk to the CIA GS-15 guy named who's a PhD scientist, Ronald Pandolfi, and he says crooks and loons, crooks and loons. That's what he says. So you got to talk to him. And assuming that the alleged black ops deep state that David Grush and Louis Elizondo say tried to threaten them, assuming they do not pull off a false flag, drone attack pretending it's ETs, but allegedly using reverse engineered stuff, from Area 51 or whatever they have, Skunk Works, assuming they don't try to assassinate Donald Trump on January 20th, and maybe kill me too, because I'll be there. Okay. Assuming that doesn't happen, as is alleged may happen. Assuming that doesn't happen, I hope it doesn't happen because I don't want to die there.
Are you going to try to get an audience with Trump then, or
that's not up to me? That's up to other people.
fair enough?
I get to Washington whenever they want me to come. That's I have no control over that. There are people working on that. Whether they succeed or not, I don't know.
Did you ever get in? Last time we talked, you said something about speaking with Senator Gillibrand, possibly.
Well, that hasn't happened yet. That's Ron James. Of course, everybody's this. Nothing's going to happen until after January 20th. But that was Ron James, who's a filmmaker who was at Seoul 2024, and Ron did some video with me. And Ron James told me he's pretty close to Senator Gillibrand. He's going to try to arrange a meeting. But I think it's all going to, he's talking about like March, April. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, nothing's going to happen before the Trump thing. Things are so chaotic, especially now with all this drone attack.
Everything's in limbo.
Everything is kind of chaotic. People are running scared. It looks like most of us, including myself, it's like War of the Worlds. But it's like H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. But we don't know, people like Greer and this FBI guy, and he's not the only one, are claiming it's a false flag by the black ops deep state who have stolen all the money and are afraid that Vivek and Elon Musk are going to expose them, and perhaps they'll go to jail, or they'll put their money back. And even some of the military, some of the, the 4-star generals and admirals that go through the revolving door of the military-industrial complex in the highest levels of the Pentagon, that, they're claiming a coup d'etat, civil war. I mean, it's going on. Hopefully, this is all conspiracy theory.
Hopefully.
None of this is true. I hope none of it's true. And I'm not claiming it's true. I'm just objectively reporting on the internet chatter that is out there that we all know about, that all people, who are into all this stuff, keeping track. And I'm personally worried because my own personal survival, I could be a victim on January 20th, if any of that turns out to be true. So I personally skin in the game.
You said that the NHI craft wanted to talk to the right group of people.
No, I don't remember saying that.
You were saying earlier about how the
No, that's not, no, you misunderstood. What I said was the NHI craft, when I was a kid, told me that I and the others they have contacted, we are going to create their technology. In other words, they were coming back.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah,
so, and
but they can talk to whoever they want to talk to. They have superior technology.
If they are going with the timeline where you do help create you help become the creators.
It's a Novikov loop, right?
It would seem consistent to me, to keep with the Novikov consistency conjecture, that you would have to survive whatever happens on Inauguration Day.
I agree, but I could be wrong.
I hope you're not.
I hope not. As Richard Feynman, I used to go up. I first met Richard Feynman at Caltech in 1963. Okay, and when I was a graduate student in La Jolla, UCSD, and hanging also out with George Shepard and come down from Caltech, I used to go up to Caltech frequently, and Feynman and I got along. The same Brooklyn, the same kind of accent, stuff like that. And Feynman would say, "Jack, always try to prove yourself wrong."
Yep.
And the whole thing about anything that I say, anything any scientist says, in general, any kind of empirical knowledge about the world is always uncertain. There's what's called Bayes' theorem, probability estimation. And all I ever claim is I'm giving my optimum. It's like a land, it's like machine learning. It's like Jack GPT
Yep.
and Grok, all this stuff that's going on, Google, Gemini, whatever they are. It's like a landscape. You train it, and we're looking for local minima in landscape. I think it's called annealing. It's
It's
D-wave.
constantly self-correcting.
Yeah, self-correcting iteration, all that stuff. And all I'm doing, my mind is like the ball on the landscape, and it's looking, for a local minimum, the optimum explanation given the input data that I have. And that's uncertain data. I could be wrong. I could be deluded. I mean, in fact, what delusion? We're suffering in mass delusion right now. Most of our political leaders are all delusional. They're all believing they're on false attractors on the landscape. They're, in terms of computer science, machine. I mean, the only ones who have their heads, the only ones who have accurate perceptions of reality are Viktor Orban, the prime minister, in my opinion. Viktor Orban, Robert Fico, Nigel Farage, a few of these people. But everybody else in NATO and Washington right now, in the Biden administration, they're all delusional. They all operating on false narratives, which is dangerous because that gets us a nuclear war. And so maybe the time travel from the future will prevent that, hopefully. But I could be wrong. I could be the deluded one, right? I recognize that. So that's what science is. It's proper falsifiability. It's not a matter of faith. Okay, I have to I'm on a low battery.
So going
Okay.
forward,
Yes.
who do you think is worth even talking to?
What do you mean? Who's worth being talking to?
So like
Hang on.
whose opinion do you think is even worth talking to about this overarching subject? Like
Uh,
who's worth listening to other than you?
well, who's worth? Well, no, there are a lot of people. I mean, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin. But you're talking about scientists now? You mean
Yeah,
scientists?
yeah, more the scientists.
Uh, Roderick Sutherland, Rod Sutherland. Trying to think. Good question. No, there are people. Martin Rees over in England. Bernard Carr, who was Stephen Hawking's assistant. I'm sure. Oh, yeah, and I said Roderick Sutherland. This guy Pablo Pilkin. Stuart Hameroff. There are a lot of people. But you mean specifically on time travel or what? I mean, you want to put what topics?
I just over time travel, warp drives, where we should be
Well, yeah, I'm
bringing
working. I'm
scientific.
working. Well, I'm working with. Oh, yeah. Okay, look, I'm glad you mentioned this. I'm working with this guy Jose Rodal.
Oh,
Jose Rodal. He's a PhD.
curvature invariance.
Yeah, from MIT. And MIT. Ray Chow. Ray Chow. Ray Chow, who I know for years. Ray Chow was a professor for 40 years at physics Berkeley, but as an undergraduate, he was at Princeton with John Archibald Wheeler was his senior advisor, like Hans Bethe was mine. Wheeler was his. When he got his PhD at MIT with Charles Towns, when he invented his laser, and he's done major, both experimental and theoretical work. He had some very brilliant students like Efrem Steinberg, and this guy Nathan. He's a bunch of he's and they're working on the gravity wave communication stuff. Which okay now, wow. Maybe hey, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay,
Okay.
I share my screen, and I have to get some water.
All right.
Save something for a minute. Start, but
I'll go refill my water while I'm at it too.
yeah, I have to go get a buy. I should have done that, but I didn't. Okay, am I okay? Are you seeing my screen now? Okay, okay. Can you
Yeah, I
see
can see
me?
your screen. Yep.
Okay, you see me now? You see me now? You see me now? Hang on. Let me go here.
Oh, there's your note. Yep, and I see your notepad up.
Okay. Give me a second. Just say something. Say something to the audience while I get a bottle of water.
Something to the audience.
Yeah, say something to the audience. Keep it going while
Well,
we do the video. I'll be right back.
well, probably probably the big disagreement that we'd have is that uh, you're a Bohmian and I'm a Everettian, but we've also discussed on where Everettian quantum mechanics can be viewed as a non-local hidden variable theory. I guess we already talked about that a little bit. Other than that, it seems like that's pretty much the only major point of contention that we've had. Something that I've really considered is that most warp drive metrics nowadays too, they're all toy models in the sense, obviously because of the energy conditions and they don't include the S factor, but also they're all constant velocity. None of them, other than Shoshani's paper recently from this year, they're all constant velocity. None of them do acceleration. So there's a bunch of things that we're going to end up having to do uh, to account for this thing. Now, even Travis Taylor makes that same simplification, right? Kind of assuming a spherical cow, where he puts the warp drive metric as a constant velocity instead of acceleration, and we need to complexify it in order to account for these accelerations instead of just doing a constant velocity.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm back. I believe you should talk to Jose Rodal. I think Jose Rodal has fixed all that, if I'm not mistaken. I might be
Oh,
mistaken,
okay.
but Rodal is working on all that stuff.
Now, is he
Uh,
working with Wolfram to fix Mathematica, the bugs?
yeah, yes, yes. Well, yeah. Okay, what Jose did, there was Eric Davis. Eric Davis co-wrote a paper with a bunch of guys from Baylor University on what are called the curvature invariants of the Alcubierre warp drive.
Yep.
And you got to give them credit because that was, the idea of using curvature invariants, which are independent of the coordinates. Those are the objective reality. That it doesn't matter who's looking at this stuff. They're all going to agree on these numbers that are called curvature invariants. That's the objective reality. But what Jose claimed is that they applied when they used the Mathematica program, they didn't do a very good job, and they made mistakes the way they cut off. Yeah, I'm not a numerical relativist. I don't know the details, but Jose basically claimed they made mistakes like many powers of 10, so totally wrong physical picture because they just didn't do it very well. And in any case, Jose got his paper published in a very prestigious journal, one of one of the most prestigious peer-reviewed journals, actually better than the journal that Eric Davis published in was some flaky journal like a predatory journal maybe. I don't know if it's predatory, but not as the one as good as the journal that that Jose published in. And Steve Wolfram actually read the paper, and Steve contacted Wolfram, the guy, PhD guy from Murray-Gell-Mann, for Caltech PhD, creative mathematics. So Wolfram has asked Jose, I guess, to maybe lecture on, or to show his mathematics. In other words, Wolfram was impressed with the technical virtuosity
So
of Jose
Wolfram
Rodal.
understand.
What?
So Wolfram understands your S factor and how it applies to modifying warp drives and
Oh,
that.
well, no, wait, no, I don't think, no, wait, no, there was no S factor there. Um, no, because Eric Davis doesn't have the S factor. No, this was all applying plain vanilla mainstream general relativity with the weak coupling. There's no, they're not talking about how to actually create a warp drive with small amounts of energy. It's just assuming okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Okay.
seems to me like it wouldn't be that hard for Wolfram and Jose to at least change the programming a little bit so it could account for your S
Well, yeah,
factor.
that's a separate issue. You see, that's what Travis. Let's just that's a good point. Let's get there. Wait,
And
can
then I
you
can
see
pull them
this?
free. Yep.
Yeah, Newton's. minus one. Newton is a unit of force, right? These are what's called SI units, SI, MKS. Okay, they all assume this. That's the standard textbook. That's textbook. Okay. So that's all assuming that, but that doesn't really matter. See, this numerical value doesn't matter. Getting the curvature and variance doesn't matter what that is. You could just say this is K, and the equation is G mu nu is K T mu. Yeah, T mu. Okay, and this is all the curvature and variance. Okay, curvature and variance. Okay, do you see this now? See that? If I switch now, I'm going to switch now. Curvature and variance, the curvature and variance. You have what's called the curvature tensor, R mu nu lambda L. This is the Riemann curvature tensor. Oops. Tensor. And you have you could do things like there's a G mu lambda. That's a curvature invariant. There are all kinds of ways you can make these invariants. These things this is called a scalar.
So it doesn't matter where the observer is looking from. It's
Yeah,
going
it
to
doesn't
the
matter. Yeah,
curvature is going
yeah,
to be the same.
yeah. So this is all observers when they compute. Yeah, this is called the zero rank tensor.
So is it all observers or all time-like observers?
Well, okay. Wait a minute. You're asking good questions. Okay, okay. Uh, well, all physical observers are on time-like world lines, right?
Okay.
Lines. That means if there's a light cone, that this is time-like. Just space. That's time. Inside the light cone, inside light cone, right? We don't have all our physics. This is a postulate now. There's a problem. But so and even in warp drive, right? As you even warp drive in a warp drive, right? This is warp drive. And here's light cone, and here's light cone, right? This is time-like. It's time-like. Locally time-like, but globally FTL, faster than light. Yeah.
Now, does this have to do with the fragility of Lorentz invariance?
No, that's a separate thing. No, it doesn't. That's a
Okay.
separate thing. It's a good question. Just let me finish this thought. Okay, or space-like. All right, now, okay, so, and any observer, this could be an observer. This could be an observer, right? Alice, let's call this Alice. So any observer is restricted to the light cone, right? Does the observer? They can only communicate if their light cones kind of intersect or match in this sense. By the way, this only works in vacuum. It only works in vacuum. All the measurement there, everything in the textbooks, aside from special relativity, general relativity, is really only a vacuum theory, and only if the vacuum is non-dispersive below the Schwinger limit.
It's,
What?
I guess a way you could say is that normally general relativity has to do with how in the presence of matter, not necessarily in matter.
Yes. See, that's a big thing. Yes, that's right. Like for example, the black hole, say black hole. You know, what they let's say a simple case you have G. Let's go G00 is 1 - 2 G m c² over R. The horizon, the horizon, the horizon was surface is G00 equals 0. This is only in vacuum. This is a vacuum solution.
Not the also the I think it's might be worth noting here that the singularity, the R equals zero at the event horizon is actually coordinate dependent.
Yeah, that's not the real thing. See, okay, this this is not the singularity. This is what's called the coordinate singularity.
Yes. Yep.
It's not real. It's not real. Well, it's real in a certain sense.
From a certain coordinate point of view.
Well, no, let me be more specific. It's real it's physically real too, but not in the same sense. It's physically real because what's called the Hawking radiation.
Normally,
Uh,
there's two singularities in the Schwarzschild solution.
yeah, yeah. We're not talking about the curvature singularity. It's not a curvature singularity, but it is this. When you write this down, when you write G00 equals 1 - 2 Gm, and remember this over C² R. This is only when R is greater than 2 Gm over C² R. This is in vacuum. Vacuum. In other words, okay, see that? In other words, I have a. This is well, I got to be careful how I draw this. This is an area. This is the area looking from the outside. The area is pi times 2 G m c²
I mean,
squared.
you can rewrite that too for a black hole as A divided by four. Uh,
Yeah, well, let's not do that. That's too much. Let's just stick with this right here. But this is here. See, this is R. Well, here's R. Oh, wait, hang on. Hang on. This is a guy. This is this guy. This guy is called the static LNIF observer or detector observer. He's at fixed R. R is fixed. That means he's in a rocket ship. Let's see. He has a rocket ship. What he really has, it's a rocket ship. If we have a, this is okay. Let's just do this. Uh, let's just do this. Let's just do Elon Musk. Elon, where are you, Elon? Here is SpaceX. Here's Elon, SpaceX rocket ship, and it is firing its rockets against the gravitational field. It has to fire its rockets, so that it doesn't move, right? Otherwise, it's
Yep.
going to get sucked into a black hole.
And so that
How much?
orbiting.
Yeah. Well, let's just say, right, it's hovering. It's like a UFO hovering, but not it's not a UFO. But okay. But he wants to stay fixed. He sees that metric, but how much G force on SpaceX on SpaceX rocket? How much G force? The G force is going to be G, the magnitude. It's going to be. It's going to be. Let me call RS is equal to 2 Gm over C². So it's going to be proportional C² RS over R². divided by the square root, it turns out 1 minus RS over R, where R is greater than RS. So look what happens. See, here's where this is the horizon here. This is RS. This is the area. The area is 4 pi RS squared. Okay. As Elon tries to get close, slowly get closer and closer, closer, he's going to fail. Because what happens? The G field, the acceleration at the surface is infinite.
Yep.
Infinite.
You're essentially getting frame drag into the black hole faster than light.
Yeah. Well, you're right. But there's even more than that. There's more than that. There's another thing that there's the quantum. This is classical. There's also quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics. The quantum mechanics. The quantum mechanics is that Elon is going to feel a temperature. He's going to see black body radiation, Hawking radiation. At that point, Hawking radiation, the temperature is Hg over C Kb. Kb is like a Boltzmann's constant. So this is going to be temperature. He's going to see actual photons, particles, a plasma. He's going to see a plasma, okay, of temperature, and the temperature gets high. He's going to be. This has to do with what's called a firewall.
Yeah, the temperature is proportional to the area of the black hole. Yep.
Yeah. Well, no, the temperature is this. The temperature is proportional to the G.
Yep.
The G force. This is the Hawking Unruh effect. So what's going to happen as he gets close? In other words, if you're in a rocket ship and you want to just hover close to the black hole, eventually you get so close you're going to burn up. You're going to be incinerated before you even get there. So in this sense, even though the curvature and variance are finite, you see the curvature. In fact, if the black hole is very big, you won't even feel the time. The curvature is a different effect, totally different effect. Curvature is what's called stretch, squeeze, different effect. This is separate from any kind of curvature influence. Okay, so in this very practical, physical, operational sense, the event horizon, the singularity at the event horizon is for a particular kind of observer. This with the rockets. If you're falling in, saying this is the paradox. If you're falling in, if you're freely falling, no rocket just fall into the black hole, you don't see this at all.
Yep.
But the question is, suppose you're falling in and you get close enough to Elon, who's burning up, will you catch fire? Maybe, okay, or not. I mean, if his ship is burning up, if you get close, even So this is kind of interesting. So there's really interesting physics there.
Now, is this related to the horizon problem associated with warp drives normally?
Yes, except those problems, I believe, do not exist.
Why?
And I could be wrong. I think all those papers are wrong because they've asked the wrong, because why? Now, I could be mistaken here. But I don't think that, because look, hey, just from the light cone point of view, here's a F, this is warp, FTL warp.
Keep drawing. I'm just letting my dogs out.
What's that? Okay. There's Mars base, Mars. Well, here's Mars. Here's the ship. Here's Tic Tac. Okay.
Yep.
So now here you see this perfect communication here, back and forth.
Because they're in their future light cones.
Yeah. So the guy on Mars sends a signal in his future light cone, but it's like going back in time. Relative to the Tic Tac sees an advanced signal back from the future because it's coming back into his future light. It's not from his past light cone, but it goes back and forth. There's two-way communication. Two-way communication. No horizon when they do it properly. The reason they get a horizon is because they're using the wrong coordinates.
So
They're using
yes, this is what I
they're
was
using the
saying
coordinates
earlier.
they're using the coordinates of a guy from the outside the bubble, but
Yep.
they're not. But this is the correct way to look at it. I mean, when you formulate that, there's no practical horizon that I can see. It's just they've used the wrong mathematical map.
Yes. So
That's
this
the
is
wrong.
exactly what I was saying earlier about how the singularity at the event horizon is actually it's coordinate dependent. It's a illusion, it's an artifact of an
Yeah,
external.
well, yeah, yeah. Well, when in this thing, there's no horizon. There's no black hole. There's no
Yeah.
horizon. Nothing. You know.
It's kind of like in a Penrose diagram when you're crossing the event horizon. There is no event horizon.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. Well, and here, I mean, there's no rise at all I can see. When they write down a certain toy metric, which is oversimplified,
Yep.
and it's from the point of view of the outside observer. It's not from the point of view of the inside observer. So it's the wrong coordinate system.
Locally, nothing's broken at all. It's all
No, no. As far as I can tell, I could be wrong. Could be wrong, but that's the best of my current understanding.
it would
And
explain.
also, we know, as a matter of fact, we know that these ships are doing fast and light. They're here they're doing it, so they haven't had any problems.
It
We
it
also have, there's nothing that succeeds like success. You know what I'm
it
saying?
it, it explains the retrocausality.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, well, there's a kind of retrocausality here, but it's yeah, yeah. So I say, roughly speaking, that's true. Okay, so so is there anything else we want to discuss in this particular session?
No, I think this is about covered it. We're a couple hours into this, so
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So let me know. Yeah. Let me know when it's up. Yeah. I think that was oh wait, no, no. It's one other thing before we go. I forgot.
what's that?
Texas
Oh, okay. Yeah, tell me about Texas space.
Space in Dallas. Okay. Now the key guy is Ray Chow. Why talk about Ray Chow?
So is he the head of it?
No, he's not the head, but he's the top scientist there. Yeah, he's the senior scientist. Now, now they have something, and I have to be careful what I say. I can only say a little bit. Ray has what he calls EPR. EPR. EPR, electron spin gravity.
And
A conjecture.
it's a EPR coupling between spin one and spin two.
No, no, just spin, just electron spins, all electrons. In other words, a bunch of electrons. EM mass E over M is, I think, like 10 to the 11 in MKS SI units. Okay, and yeah, it's this kind of thing. I can't go into detail how they do it because this is patents. Yeah, they're getting patents. Okay, and the problem is, I got to begin. The problem is this: in Einstein gravity, Einstein classical gravity, the coupling EM to gravity is weak. Is weak, right? It's yeah, 10 to the minus 43 newtons. But in Ray Chow, if it's right, we don't know if it's right yet. It has to be tested experimentally. In Ray Chow, ER, I'll call it roughly ER because EPR, E minus spin Um, it's like 10 to, the coupling is 10, roughly 10 to the 45 times 10 to the minus 43, 10 to the 2
Interesting.
newtons. Super strong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good and both bad. Okay, so that's what we're working on now.
So
Now I am working on, okay, you got that, so we get that super strong. Now there's Nick Cook. Nick Cook,
one for 0 point.
yeah, Nazi sauces, sauces. And then there's John Warner, Warner the fourth. The son of the late Secretary of the Navy, John Mellon Warner. His father was Secretary of the Navy, son of Secretary of the Navy, and senator, dead senator. His father's John Moore, the senator. Okay, and his grandfather was his grandfather Paul, father Paul Mellon. I think it was OSS World War II. Okay, all right. And John claims that they really were, uh, as far as I understand it, will have them on Nazi weapons, maybe, uh, that what Nick Cook is talking about. Nick, and this is tentative. Nick, Nick Cook, who was, Jane's defense. This is MI6, British intel, the British intelligence, British intelligence. Okay, now are we there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Now, okay, so now the problem is the 0 point. Now the 0 point energy is, you have to have two plates, and there's a distance a between the plates. These are conducting plates.
Dielectric between them.
But yeah, well, no, there's vacuum. This is vacuum. Just wait. You're anticipating something. Hang on. This is vacuum. The energy density, I'll call it T00. The energy density is H C over A to the 4 roughly. There's a bunch of numbers here. Forget that. That H is just Planck. Speed of light in vacuum. Speed of light vacuum. According to Einstein, the gravity field, this gravity, will then be roughly 10 to the minus 43 times hc over a to the 4. Roughly, there's some other numbers. 1 over meters squared. Okay, but put this in. Let's see. I think, what is H? H is like, what is H? 10 to the minus 30? What is that? Let me get up.
H as in
Planck
dense
constant.
constant.
Oh, 10 to the minus 34. H is 10 to the minus 34. And minus 34. And C is like 10 to, I'm going to, 10 to the 8, close enough. And A is like 10 nanometer. A is like, let's say let's say 10 to the 10 minus 7, 10 minus 7 meter. Let's say something like that. So you see, plug in those numbers, it's still going to be pretty small. Well, will it be pretty small? Yeah, because you have 10 minus 43 and 10 minus 34. So it's still going to be very weak.
Yep.
Okay.
If you change
But
the material between the plates
yeah,
from a
suppose you
vacuum to a,
put these electrons in there, mass. Put the electrons, a whole bunch. Put some kind of special ferromagnetic material. Yeah, put some kind of ferromagnetic material with these spins in there that are pumped in a certain way, according to like Ray Chow's ideas. And I don't want to get the patentable details. Put that in there, and this thing gets amplified by 10 to the 45. So that cancels out that. Okay. And now it looks like we're in business.
so this graphic here that I'm kind of showing to the camera,
Yeah. Oh, what is
that
that? Where's that from?
that is from your 2022 Lectures on UAP Metric Engineering
Oh,
paper.
is it? Okay, all right. Yeah. So something like that. But using see, we don't know if any of this is really true, though. We don't know if it's going to work. But if something like this is true, it could be that the Nazis uh, had this, or it could be that that evil time travelers went back in time to the Third Reich and gave the Nazis this stuff. See, this would all be consistent now. It
So
could be in a loop in time. It could be that it could be that 1930s Third
so
Reich.
the there was this guy back in the 30s, 40s, 50s. Uh, Last name was Brown. He had something very similar to this, where it was two conductive plates with a
Yeah, yeah,
dielectric
yeah, yeah.
sandwiched
But
between them.
okay, yes. As far as I
Now,
know, any. Okay, wait. I know you're talking about Townsend Brown.
okay, yep, that's the guy.
Yeah, Townsend. Brown.
He was
As
saying that the strength of his thing, I forget what he called them, but it
the
depended. Yeah, so
lifters.
his
Yeah.
lifters depended A on the amount of charge that you would put in, but also
No, but that won't work.
but
As far as I
also
know,
also let me finish,
yeah.
please. I don't mean to
Okay.
I don't mean to be
Yeah,
rude.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go
The
ahead.
major thing that so when I can send you papers on that go into math on this. The major thing that dictates the strength of his gravitators is actually the electric permeativity of the dielectric between the charged plates.
Okay, well, that's consistent with my theory. My original S theory is, yeah,
So
maybe, but I have to see. Okay, interesting. I actually have to see those technical papers if they're not classified. Yeah, because, all right, because the S field is basically the permittivity squared, roughly, in a simple case. This is the ER. ER is the relative permittivity. And so that's ER. That's like uh, epsilon is epsilon zero ER. ER is 1 plus chi. That's the susceptibility.
so there's this paper called The Byfield-Brown Effect and the Space Curvature of Electromagnetic Field. And in
Yeah,
section five, the
yeah. Okay. Well, I have
Byfield,
to send it. Send it to me. And I don't know if I have time to read it, but I'll send it to Jose Rodal and some other people, see if they think there's a. The last time I checked, it didn't look right what I saw, but I may not have seen the real papers. You know what
so
I'm saying?
here's the thing. Brown was an experimentalist. He wasn't a
Yeah.
theorist. This is a paper by a theorist who claims to have solved why his effect has the effect that it
Okay. Okay.
does.
Well, so
And
send it to me. I don't know. I haven't. We have to read. So that's interesting. Send it. But the issue is this. The issue is this. As far as I remember, Townsend Brown was connected to the intelligence, right?
yes, and so
In World War
this
II.
is these are two connections I was going to make. One
Yeah.
is that when I see your work and I compare it to what we know about Brown
Yeah.
now in
Yeah.
retrospect,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Your metamaterials to me look like a nanotechnology version
Yeah.
of what he did at the earliest parts. Now, do you know what Project Alsos was?
No.
So Project Alsos was the preliminary of Operation Paperclip. So at the end
Ah,
of World War II, we sent a bunch of people in to get out these German scientists.
yes, that I know. Oh, wait, that's John Warner's grandfather.
One of the
John Warner's
people,
like his grand Paul Mellon was involved in that with General Patton,
so
with George Patton.
one of the people who was involved with this Operation Alsos,
Yeah,
and he was parachuted in to collect one of these
right.
scientists, and he was successful. It was Thomas Townsend Brown.
Ah, okay. Well, all right. There's more. Okay, listen. This on. Okay, there's something else I know about this. I have a friend. I'm not going to mention his name. He's prominent. He's high up, and his father, my friend's father, was like town was parachuted. Yeah, was one of these guys. He spoke German. He was fluent in German. They came from a German part of America. They're fluent in German, and he was parachuted into the Nazi Third Reich, and he was part of that. So I know something about that. Okay, so yes, this all has to be investigated, and this is something if Elon listens to Jack Sarfatti and Donald Trump authorizes us Manhattan Project 2.0. These are all things we have to go into because there are records on this, and this is where John Warner, whose grandfather was part of this, and whose father was the Secretary of the U.S. Navy and also a senator, and John knows a lot about this. So all this, yeah, this is all stuff we have to check out. Yeah, okay. And also we had remember since it's time travel, uh, we could have had evil time travelers went back and gave the Nazis some of this information.
Maybe, yeah.
That's that whole thing now, with the Brill Society, all that stuff, which sounds like science, it sounds like bad science fiction, but there may be something to it after all. Antarctica, the whole thing. We
Yep.
have to keep an open but critical mind on all this stuff.
And it seems to me like we're a lot of this, whether it's you or Brown or Glenn or whoever, it all seems like it all kind of comes back to the electrical permeativity has a lot to do
Yeah.
with this.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And also this new thing, Ray Chow, okay, there's let me just say a few things. The electrical permittivity is called permittivity, and also the magnetic permeability. I can't permittivity.
Epsilon and mu.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Epsilon mu. Uh, um, uh, that comes from Einstein's T mu nu. What's called the translation group. Translation. What's called four momentum. Momentum.
Yep.
Okay. But Ray Chow is a separate thing. Ray Chow is new. Chow is quantum. This is classical. Classical. Ray Chow is quantum, and that comes from the spin, the electron spin, and that involves something called torsion fields. Torsion. What's called the torsion connection, and that goes back to the Soviet. We had Soviet physics. There was we were actually working with some of these guys. Okay, so that's a whole addition. It's an additional. It's an extension of 1915 GR. Yeah, so that's a whole other thing, and this is why we have to work with the Russians. The Russians invited me. I was invited to Moscow State Physics Department in July of 2023. I didn't go because of the war, okay, and I won't go. But the Russians take what I say quite seriously about physics, and we have to go back and start cooperating with them again on all this kind of stuff because if there is an actual extraterrestrial time travel threat, if not all of those guys out there are friendly to us, which is okay, then we have to work together. So this is an incentive for us to, we have to stop this war in Ukraine. We have to stop all this thing about China. We have to come together in a kind of a peace negotiation, and hopefully Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, Viktor Orban, Nigel Farage, Chairman Xi, and the guy who's the Modi in India, all these guys can come together and start acting rational and forget about the crooked American military-industrial complex that have stolen trillions of dollars in crap weapons that the Russian army has destroyed easily with ease on the Ukrainian battlefield. That happens to be a fact
Hmm.
that they're hiding from the American people. And when that comes out, okay, hopefully we can have peace and avoid a nuclear war. So that's the best case scenario.
Get warp drives and stop the war. I like it.
Warp drive, go on warp drive, Elon. Forget if Elon get off his ego on his chemical rockets, brilliant though it is. I know Donald Trump, the president, was very impressed with how that thing comes down. Yeah, it's impressive, but it's ridiculous.
You
It's
polish
we
a
don't
turd,
need it.
it's still a turd.
Exactly. Polish turd is still a turd. It's old technology, impotent and obsolete.
Yep.
It's impotent and obsolete. So that's it. Okay, so I think we've covered everything. Huh?
Is
Anything
there
else?
anything else you want to cover?
No, but we've opened up these. We've asked more questions. This is all stuff that has to be.
Good.
Okay, the big things go. Okay, the big thing to close. Are we going to survive until January 20th?
I hope so.
Is there going to be a false flag drone attack on the president's inauguration in which we're all killed in a super 9/11, as some people are saying? Hope not. And if we get past in July 20th, will Donald Trump, who I think has been misinformed by Biden's CIA about the facts on the ground in Ukraine, he doesn't understand. Uh, as far, I mean, he could be right, could be wrong. But when Donald Trump says there were 600,000 Russians killed, 700, that's ridiculous. There's been maybe 60,000 Russians killed. It's the opposite. He's
Still
been
too
so,
many, either way.
yeah. Well, but the point is that the president's being fed false information by people that he shouldn't be trusting. But hopefully, like Cash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard, when they get in there, they'll fix everything. Hopefully.
Hopefully, that's the hope.
Yeah, that's the hope. So let's see if we make it for the next 3 weeks. This is the most dangerous time we're in right now over Christmas, the next couple of weeks. Let's see if we make it. And we'll
Everybody's
take
in a
it
bit
from
of a
there.
holding pattern.
Yeah. Okay. So Merry Christmas and
All
all
right.
that. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Jack. Thanks for talking to me again.
Okay. Bye. Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.